We must stop killers who want to kill these black babies.
A coward. That's how the Jackson police chief is describing the person responsible for killing a toddler over the weekend. His mother and her aunt were also shot and killed. It happened around 9 o'clock Saturday night on Queen Alexandria Lane, which is in West Jackson. These are the victims. 2-year-old Camari Givens, his mother, 30-year-old Erica Weathersby, and her sister, 25-year-old Keyana Weathersby.
3 lives ended in a matter of moments, leaving an entire community searching for answers. In Jackson, Mississippi, what appeared to be an ordinary day turned into one of the city's most heartbreaking crime scenes in recent memory. Inside a home on Queen Alexandria Lane, police discovered 3 victims from the same family. 25-year-old Keyana Weathersby, her 30-year-old sister Erica Weathersby, and Keyana's 2-year-old son, Camari Givens. The deaths of 2 sisters and a young child immediately sent shockwaves throughout Jackson. Neighbors struggled to comprehend how an entire family could be taken in such a violent act, while investigators began the difficult task of determining exactly what had happened inside the home. At first, many questions outweighed the answers. Who was responsible? Why had this family been targeted? And perhaps the most heartbreaking question of all, how had a 2-year-old child become one of the victims? As investigators secured the scene, officers carefully documented evidence that could help reconstruct the final moments inside the residence. Detectives interviewed neighbors, collected forensic evidence, and began tracing every possible lead. Authorities quickly emphasized one important point. Based on the evidence available, they did not believe this was a random act of violence. Instead, investigators stated that the attack appeared to be targeted. That statement immediately changed the direction of the investigation. A targeted attack suggests planning. It suggests that investigators believe the victims were specifically chosen rather than caught in a random act of crime. While police have not publicly disclosed the full motive, that early conclusion indicated they were looking closely at the relationships surrounding the victims and anyone who may have known them. As news spread across Mississippi, the case attracted widespread attention. The loss of 2 sisters was already devastating, but the death of 2-year-old Camari Givens added another layer of grief that resonated far beyond Jackson. Community members expressed disbelief that someone so young had also lost his life. Police have also stated that the child was not simply an unintended victim of crossfire. That detail made the investigation even more disturbing and underscored the seriousness of the charges that would later follow. For the victims' loved ones, the days following the tragedy were filled with mourning instead of celebration. Family members remembered Keyana and Erica as daughters, sisters, relatives, and friends whose lives had been cut short. Camari, only beginning his journey through life, became the youngest victim in a case that would soon capture national attention. Behind the flashing police lights and crime scene tape were real people whose absence would forever change their family. As detectives continued piecing together the evidence, they worked around the clock to identify everyone who may have been involved. Every interview, surveillance recording, phone record, and forensic clue became part of a growing investigation. The public, meanwhile, waited anxiously for updates. Would investigators identify those responsible? Would there be arrests? And what motive could possibly explain such an unimaginable crime? Those answers would begin to emerge in the days ahead, as law enforcement announced major developments that would dramatically change the course of the investigation. In the next chapter, we'll examine how detectives identified multiple suspects, the arrests that followed, and the evidence that prosecutors say connects them to one of Jackson's most devastating homicide cases. If you're following this case and appreciate carefully researched, fact-based true crime reporting, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter. In the days following the discovery of the 3 victims, investigators from the Jackson Police Department faced enormous pressure to solve a case that had shaken the entire city. Every hour mattered. Detectives worked around the clock, collecting evidence from the crime scene, interviewing witnesses, reviewing surveillance footage, and following every lead that could help identify those responsible. Although authorities remained careful about what they shared publicly, they made one thing clear from the beginning: they believed the killings were targeted. That announcement suggested investigators were focusing on people who may have had a connection to the victims rather than searching for a random suspect. As the investigation progressed, pieces of the puzzle slowly began to come together. Detectives analyzed physical evidence recovered from the home and surrounding area, while forensic specialists examined shell casings, firearms evidence, and other materials that could help reconstruct what happened. At the same time, investigators reviewed phone records, spoke with individuals connected to the victims, and tracked information that could verify the movements of potential suspects before and after the crime. Behind the scenes, multiple law enforcement agencies worked together to move the investigation forward. Then came the first major breakthrough. Authorities announced the arrest of Michaela Young, who was charged with capital murder in connection with the deaths. While investigators did not publicly explain every detail that led to the arrest, they indicated they believed she played a role in the events surrounding the killings. Not long afterward, 2 more arrests followed. Police charged Cornelius Carter and Jordan Carter with capital murder. The announcement surprised many observers, as it indicated investigators believed more than one person had participated in the crime. With 3 suspects now in custody, the investigation appeared to be uncovering a much larger picture than initially understood. But detectives were not finished. As they continued pursuing additional leads, investigators identified another suspect believed to have left Mississippi. Their search extended beyond state lines, eventually leading authorities to Texas. Working alongside the United States Marshals Service, law enforcement located and arrested Devon Montecure. He was taken into custody in Texas and later faced extradition to Mississippi, where he was also charged with capital murder.
These 2 suspects were described as dangerous individuals with criminal pasts. Jackson Police Chief Rochelle Brackney reflects on the actions of suspected killers, who they believe are responsible for a triple murder on Queen Alexandria Lane.
But you have to have a heart of pure evil to you just have to have a heart of pure evil.
Tuesday morning, 28-year-old Cornelius Carter and 28-year-old Jordan Carter were both charged with capital murder for the shootings that killed 30-year-old Erica Weathersby, her sister, 25-year-old Keyana Weathersby, and Keyana's 2-year-old son, Camari Givens. Officials confirmed the suspects knew the victims.
So we know this was not random, but we will not comment or speculate on motive. Again, we don't want to jeopardize this case.
Brackney says the details of the case are brutal, revealing the toddler was sleeping in his bed when he was shot.
These are the kind of cases that haunt detectives, seasoned detectives, who've been to a lot of horrific scenes over the years. And normally you can move through them in order to get the work done. This one has caused quite a few of us to pause.
This similar sentiment is shared by the founder of Reset Jackson, which is a local crime prevention organization.
I think we're just headed in the wrong direction as a city and as a people.
He says this triple homicide, along with other recent incidents like the murder of 18-year-old Jacoby Tillman at a gas station early Tuesday morning, has pushed him to do more. Hopkins hopes to be the bridge between law enforcement and community members so they can have more trust in each other.
Back in the streets. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up prayer rallies. We're going to set up peace marches and peace rallies. And again, we're going to try to get with the JPD and also Capitol Police.
Brackney says that although they caught these 2 suspects, they do believe that more people were involved in this fatal attack, so they are still searching. If you have any more information that could lead to an arrest, make sure to reach out to JPD or Crime Stoppers. I'm live here at JPD headquarters, Brooklyn Joyner, 16 WAPT News.
With 4 individuals now charged, investigators had reached a significant milestone. However, an arrest is not the same as a conviction. Under the American justice system, every defendant is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court, and prosecutors must present sufficient evidence to support the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Even with the arrests, one question continued to dominate public discussion. Why? Authorities have not publicly disclosed a complete motive for the killings, and many details remain part of the ongoing investigation. Detectives have indicated that additional evidence and witness testimony will become part of future court proceedings rather than being released immediately to the public. As investigators continued processing evidence, another shocking revelation emerged. Police announced that a rifle believed to have been stolen from a marked Jackson Police Department vehicle had been linked through preliminary forensic testing to the murders. The disclosure stunned the community and raised an entirely new set of questions. How had a police-issued firearm ended up in the hands of those allegedly involved? When had it been stolen? Could the theft have been prevented? Authorities launched a separate investigation into the circumstances surrounding the missing weapon while continuing to build the homicide case. Meanwhile, prosecutors prepared for what could become a lengthy legal process involving multiple defendants and capital murder charges. For the victims' families, however, no arrest could erase the pain of losing Keyana Weathersby, Erica Weathersby, and young Camari Givens. While investigators continued searching for answers inside court documents and forensic reports, loved ones were left grieving 3 lives that could never be replaced. The investigation had made remarkable progress in only a matter of days, but many of the most important questions still remained unanswered. As the legal process moved forward, prosecutors and defense attorneys would begin presenting competing narratives, and the evidence gathered during the investigation would face close examination in court. In the next chapter, we'll take a closer look at the evidence released by investigators, the significance of the capital murder charges, and how this heartbreaking case has affected both the victim's family and the Jackson community. If you're finding this factual breakdown helpful, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter as we continue following this case responsibly and accurately. As the investigation moved from the crime scene to the courtroom, the focus began to shift. Detectives had made arrests, prosecutors had filed charges, and the case was now entering the legal process. But for the people of Jackson, Mississippi, and especially for the victims' loved ones, the arrests did not bring closure. Instead, they marked the beginning of a long search for justice. The deaths of Keyana Weathersby, Erica Weathersby, and 2-year-old Camari Givens left a lasting impact on the community. Neighbors described the tragedy as one of the most heartbreaking crimes the city had seen in recent years. Community members gathered to mourn the victims, offering prayers and support to family members trying to cope with an unimaginable loss. For investigators, however, the work was far from over. Although 4 people had been charged with capital murder, building a successful prosecution requires far more than making arrests. Prosecutors must prove each defendant's alleged role using admissible evidence presented in court. That includes forensic evidence, witness testimony, digital records, and any other materials that can establish what happened beyond a reasonable doubt. As court proceedings began, many of the details that the public wanted to know remained under seal or had not yet been released by investigators. Law enforcement continued to withhold certain information, explaining that doing so helps protect the integrity of an active criminal case. One detail that continued to draw widespread attention was the alleged use of a rifle believed to have been stolen from a marked Jackson Police Department vehicle. Authorities stated that preliminary forensic analysis linked the weapon to the killings, but investigators also emphasized that the broader investigation into how the firearm was stolen remained ongoing. That revelation sparked important conversations throughout the city. Residents questioned how a police-issued firearm could allegedly end up being used in such a devastating crime. Local officials acknowledged those concerns, while investigators continued examining every aspect of the case. Meanwhile, the defendants faced the legal consequences of the charges against them. Capital murder is among the most serious criminal charges under Mississippi law. A conviction can carry severe penalties, including life imprisonment or, in some cases, the death penalty, depending on the circumstances and legal decisions made throughout the case. However, it is important to remember that the charges represent allegations. Each defendant has the right to a fair trial, legal representation, and the presumption of innocence unless proven guilty in court. As the legal process unfolded, the victims remained at the center of the story. Friends and relatives remembered Keyana and Erica, not as names in a news headline, but as daughters, sisters, and loved ones whose lives had been cut tragically short. They also remembered young Camari, a child whose future was taken before it had truly begun. Cases involving young children often leave a profound emotional impact on communities, and this tragedy was no exception. While investigators focused on evidence and court filings, many people found themselves reflecting on the human cost behind the headlines. The Jackson community also expressed gratitude for the speed of the investigation. Within days of the killings, law enforcement agencies had coordinated across state lines, leading to multiple arrests. That cooperation demonstrated how local police, forensic specialists, prosecutors, and federal partners can work together when responding to complex homicide investigations. Even so, the investigation itself was only one part of the journey. The courtroom would ultimately become the place where evidence is tested, witnesses are questioned, and the facts are examined under the rules of law. Until then, many questions about motive, planning, and each defendant's alleged involvement remain unanswered in public. As this case continues through Mississippi's justice system, the outcome will depend not on speculation or public opinion, but on the evidence presented before the court. In our final chapter, we'll look at where the case stands today, what could happen next in the legal proceedings, and the lasting lessons this tragedy has left for the Jackson community and beyond. If you've appreciated this fact-based coverage and want more carefully researched true crime documentaries, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update or our next case. For many criminal investigations, the arrests mark the end of the mystery. But in cases like this, they are only the beginning of another chapter, one that unfolds inside a courtroom rather than behind police tape. Today, the deaths of Keyana Weathersby, Erica Weathersby, and 2-year-old Camari Givens remain one of the most heartbreaking tragedies to affect Jackson, Mississippi. Although investigators moved quickly to identify and charge suspects, the legal process is still responsible for determining guilt or innocence based on the evidence presented in court. 4 individuals have been charged with capital murder in connection with the case. Those charges are among the most serious that can be filed under Mississippi law. Still, as with every criminal case, the defendants are presumed innocent unless and until they are proven guilty in a court of law. That distinction is important. Public attention often follows high-profile cases closely, but the justice system is designed to rely on evidence, not rumors, speculation, or emotion. Prosecutors must establish each defendant's alleged role beyond a reasonable doubt, while defense attorneys have the opportunity to challenge the evidence and present their own arguments. As the case moves through the courts, investigators may continue gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, and conducting forensic analysis. Additional information could become public during hearings or at trial, offering a clearer picture of what prosecutors believe happened and how they intend to prove their case. For the victims' loved ones, however, no legal proceeding can undo what has already been lost. The grief of losing a daughter, a sister, and a 2-year-old child is something that cannot be measured in court documents or news reports. Behind every headline is a family forever changed by violence, forced to navigate birthdays, holidays, and ordinary days without the people they loved. In the aftermath of tragedies like this, communities often come together to support those left behind. Friends, neighbors, faith leaders, and local organizations frequently play a role in helping families cope with overwhelming loss, reminding them that they are not alone during the difficult months and years that follow. This case has also prompted conversations about public safety, firearm security, and the importance of thorough homicide investigations. The allegation that a rifle believed to have been stolen from a marked police vehicle was linked to the killings raised broader questions about safeguarding law enforcement equipment and preventing stolen weapons from being used in violent crimes. Those discussions will likely continue long after the court proceedings have concluded. For now, many of the answers the public seeks remain within the ongoing legal process. Court hearings, evidence presentations, and judicial rulings will shape what happens next. Until then, it is important to separate verified facts from speculation and to allow the judicial process to proceed. The story of this case is not simply about arrests or court filings. It is about 3 lives that ended far too soon. It is about a family left to mourn an unimaginable loss, and it is about a community determined to see justice pursued through the legal system. As we conclude this documentary, it's worth remembering that true crime stories involve real people, not fictional characters. The victims deserve to be remembered with dignity, and the legal process deserves the opportunity to establish the facts through evidence presented in court. We'll continue to follow this case as official updates become available, and provide factual coverage of significant developments as they are confirmed by authorities or released through court proceedings. Thank you for watching this documentary from beginning to end. If you found this coverage informative and appreciate respectful, fact-based reporting on real criminal cases, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Your support helps us continue producing carefully researched documentaries that focus on the facts while honoring the people at the center of these stories. Until next time, thank you for watching. Stay informed, take care of yourselves and those around you, and we'll see you in the next documentary.